All right, so Fire Emblem Engage was released back in, I believe, in January 20th, and a lot of people have different things to say about it. Some people thought it was okay. Some people thought it was one of the worst installments within the series. Honestly, Fire Emblem Engage had some redeeming qualities like a good combat system, great music, fun maps, nice graphics, and smooth animation. Um, as far as what um, as far as what a lot of people didn't like and what kind of felt like dragged down the quality of the game was the fact that the story was far from being the best because it seemed boring, really predictable. It had terrible dialogue, and the characters were just like bland and uninteresting. And at this point, some people would go on record and say Fire Emblem Awakening from 2012 was better than this game. And that title, Fire Emblem Awakening, that was released for the Nintendo 3DS. So, like, obviously, like, the Nintendo 3DS has quality that's inferior compared to the Switch console, but the story was better. The characters were more interesting. In fact, some people would go on record and say that like Fire Emblem Three Houses was way better. In fact, I think that game probably it set the bar really high to a point where I don't think Intelligent Systems and Nintendo could necessarily produce a game that would, I guess, rival that in terms of popularity. Because I remember before Fire Emblem Three Houses was released, it was a bigger deal than Fire Emblem Engage. And, Fire Emblem Three Houses had received like mainstream attention, before and after its release. And since its release, I believe it managed to break over 3 million in terms of sales on the Switch console. And, and yeah, I mean, like when it comes down to high profile RPGs, Fire Emblem is one of the best things Nintendo has going for them right now. And the thing is, like with the series in general, it seems like we've been getting a bunch of hits and misses. It's not like it's been this steady decline and each game ended up being worse than the last. I mean, that's not exactly true because when it came down to the 2000s, we had some, gems that appeared on multiple game systems. We had Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which appeared on the GameCube console back in the mid 2000s. Believe it was sometime in 2005. We had I guess like the Fire Emblem game from '03 that appeared on Game Boy Advance. That game was actually good as well. Some people would probably say it was better than what we got here. Not in terms of graphics and quality and all that stuff, but it was more intriguing. You had Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones, which appeared in 2005. You had the Radiant Dawn game for the Wii console from 2007. It seemed like a lot of the best stuff within the Fire Emblem series came from like the 2000s or like the early teens. And and yeah, like for the most part, it's like the Fire Emblem series in general is just like in comparison to all the other main video game franchises that Nintendo has going for them, whether it be Mario, whether it be Zelda, whether it be Splatoon, anything you could think of. It seemed like it just pales in comparison to them because Nintendo, for the most part, are not too big in RPGs in general. In fact, it seems like nowadays RPG titles seem to shine more on PlayStation or Xbox based consoles for the most part. And I'm not saying that Nintendo can't come out with good RPGs because they have proven that they can produce high quality RPGs. I mean, my case in point being with Fire Emblem Three Houses, it's just something that I guess other video game companies seem to do a lot better, like with Square Enix. A lot of people would consider Square Enix to be the king of RPGs, but that's something that's subjective. And, there's been more competition within the past decade or so with RPGs. So, it is what it is. But I honestly feel like Fire Emblem Engage could have stood out more if it came out in 2022 opposed to this year, because when it comes down to high profile releases, we got a lot of upcoming games that a lot of people are looking forward to seeing. One of them being Final Fantasy 16, which is supposed to be out a little bit later this year. And honestly, I'm almost certain that that game will break at least 1 or 2 mil within its first month or so, because the anticipation is really high. Final Fantasy 15 came out back in like 2016, so people have been waiting for like about 7 years for this game to be released. Fire Emblem Three Houses came out back in 2019, so that's only been like like roughly around like 3-4 years since that game came out, so it is what it is. I feel like maybe if Nintendo waited a little bit longer to release Fire Emblem Engage and possibly in a different year, this game probably could have been more successful than it was. But at the same time, the game did have its share of faults, And the thing was, it was kind of hard to get invested into the story, mainly due to the lack of drama and the lack of I guess the lack of popularity and the charisma or lack thereof that the characters did not have. I think it basically made it difficult for players to really be emotionally invested in the game itself. And when it comes down to RPGs in general, like the story is normally the thing that either makes or pretty much breaks the game itself. And honestly, I do feel that Fire Emblem Gage could have been better, but at the same time, I don't think a lot of people expected it to surpass Three Houses in terms of sales or commercial success or what have you.